Welcome to the True Assassins podcast. Buckle up because you send over some seriously wild stuff from Orlando Madsbrine's True Assassins. So we're going to dive straight into a couple of murder investigations that are really, really unsettling. Forget your average true crime. These have a seriously dark, seriously mysterious edge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What struck me right off the bat with these cases was how they explore, the bizarre connection between belief, influence, and ultimately, deadly outcomes.
Okay, so first up, we've got this chilling murder investigation, and it all revolves around this traveling minstrel. And the stuff you sent over paints him as way more than just a wandering musician, right? Like his performances seem to have this almost sinister power, stirring up madness, violence wherever he goes. Let's try and sort of unravel the mystery behind this deadly melody. Now, when you first read about that scene in the tavern and the effect the music had on Erik, what was the thing that really jumped out at you?
Well, what's really arresting right off the bat is that Erik's reaction, it's not just like simple discomfort, is it? It's recognition. He's not just hearing some disturbing song for the first time.
Yeah.
The whole twisting in his gut and the flickering visions, it suggests a pattern, right? A terrifying familiarity with this minstrel's influence, maybe from other towns, maybe from encounters before. So it's not really about the music by itself, is it? It's more about a whole history of tragic events all linked to this one performer.
Yeah, that's it. The story really makes you think that Erik's seen this deadly influence play out before. So what does that tell us, then, about the minstrel's methods? Is it the music itself, or is there something more going on? And what about this pattern of events? What does that suggest to you?
Yeah, you look at the pattern, it really does suggest the minstrel's effect. It isn't random, or isolated. There's a consistency there, a method, whether intentional or not, in how these performances, how they trigger these violent episodes. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the power of suggestion, perhaps even a form of mass hysteria that he's maybe unknowingly, maybe knowingly kind of igniting. And then you've got Erik, right, with his previous experience, and it makes him like a witness almost to this repeating cycle of influence and tragedy, which just highlights this kind of disturbing predictability in how the events unfold.
The source material you sent over actually describes the minstrel song as, well, it says it's twisting minds and turning neighbors into killers, which is a seriously disturbing image. How does the text actually describe, this descent into madness among the villagers? Are there any specific triggers or stages that you picked up on?
Well, yeah, I mean, the progression of the villagers' behavior is really unsettling. It starts subtly, just with physical things like twitching, glazed eyes, all signs of growing unease and disorientation. And then the text, it depicts this really rapid escalation, this full-blown violence with animalistic shrieks and people suddenly, brandishing weapons. And the trigger, it seems to be tied to the music itself, right? There's like a final discordant note that acts as this breaking point, almost shattering their collective sanity. It's as if the song itself is like this catalyst, unlocking some kind of latent capacity for violence within the community.
And then in all this chaos, Erik actually tries to warn the villagers. What does that tell us about what he understands, compared to everyone else? And why do you think his warnings just fall on deaf ears?
Well, the key here is information, right? Erik knows stuff that the other villagers just don't. He's seen this minstrel before. He sees the pattern, the cause and effect. But they're just experiencing the effects right now. And their judgment, it's totally clouded by this influence that Erik's trying to warn them about. His warnings don't work because the minstrel's song is, well, it's messing with their minds, actively warping how they see reality. They probably just think Erik's another person who's succumbed to the weird atmosphere. It's like it isolates him even more in trying to break the cycle. It just shows how difficult it is, to reason with people when something's manipulating their mind.
That's a pretty extreme reaction. What do you think his goal was in that moment? Was he trying to kill the minstrel, or was it more about just silencing the music itself?
I think Erik was driven by this need to stop the madness.
Yeah.
To disrupt the source. Now, he might have wanted to hurt the minstrel, sure, but the immediate target was the stage, wasn't it? The actual place of the performance.
Yeah.
It's like a last-ditch attempt to break the spell. Like to shock the villagers out of this frenzy by cutting off that deadly melody. Think of it like pulling the plug on a machine that's doing harm.
Yeah.
The priority is to stop the damage, right?
And it's interesting because even with the stage on fire, the minstrel song, well, it actually continues, doesn't it? It morphs into this well, what could be the significance of that, that continues and the music changes? It's like the music has a life of its own.
It's really weird, isn't it? The fact that the
Mm.
song keeps going, even with all this chaos and destruction around, it suggests that the power of it is beyond the physical performance. And that shift to a wail, well, it could mean a few things, couldn't it? Maybe it's the minstrel's own agony. Maybe it's something deeper, like a primal unleashing of that destructive force he's somehow embodying. It's almost as if the music's tapping into something fundamental, something that just keeps going, even when the thing making it is being destroyed. And it raises this unsettling possibility, doesn't it, that the real danger isn't just the guy. It's the song itself, and its ability to connect with something dark inside us, inside humans.
And then there's this disturbing shift where the villagers who are driven mad by the song, well, they suddenly turn on the minstrel. The text says they do it with a thirst for retribution. How does the text describe this sudden change? It's like the spell breaks, but they're still angry.
This is the really crucial part, isn't it? And really unsettling. So at first, the madness was chaotic, it's turning them against each other. But this shift to retribution, well, it means that chaotic energy is being focused onto something, onto the minstrel. Like the terror they've all experienced, plus Erik trying to intervene and stop the music, it's like their fear and confusion turns into a kind of shared rage directed at the performers, like they were puppets, right, controlled by the music. And now in this twisted way, they're taking back control, but by being violent.
Yeah, and in the end, the minstrel meets this fiery end at the hands of the villagers. What do you make of that outcome? Does it feel like justice is served, or is it just another act of violence that stems from the madness he created?
That's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, the minstrel, he definitely caused all this awful violence. But the villagers' actions, they come from the madness he unleashed. It's a cycle of violence where the victims, even when they get rid of the threat, they're still acting under his influence in a way. It's like a really grim, ironic kind of justice, maybe a consequence of what he did, but one that comes from chaos, not rational thinking. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it, if real justice is even possible in a situation like that.
The passage finishes with Erik, and he's reflecting on the song, now gone, but also this lingering echo in his mind. It's a powerful image. What does it tell us about the effects these traumatic events have, even after the danger is past?
Oh, that echo, that speaks volumes about the psychological damage, the scars the trauma leaves. Even though the minstrel's dead and gone, and there's no more immediate threat, the whole thing it's left this permanent mark on Erik's mind. It's post-traumatic stress, isn't it? A constant reminder of the madness he saw in the music, the role the music played. It shows that the consequences of stuff like this, they keep going. They affect people long after the crisis is over. So yeah, for Erik, the silence isn't really silent. It's full of what he went through.
Right, okay. So let's shift gears now and get into the second murder investigation you flagged. This one's about an astrologer called Anton. The text starts with a really intense scene. We've got a ritual, a knife, a sacrifice, and Anton, and he seems to be, trying to command the heavens. What were your first impressions of Anton, just from that description?
Right away, I thought this guy's seriously deep in his beliefs, to the point of delusion. The words used, like command the heavens and challenge fate, they point to an incredible arrogance, right? This belief that he can actually control cosmic forces through these ritualistic, acts of violence. And then the specifics of the sacrifice, they underline this image of a man totally consumed by his convictions.
The text says outright that Anton believed he could manipulate the stars by restoring this cosmic balance through sacrifices. What do you think was driving this belief? What does it tell us about how he understood the universe, or maybe misunderstood it?
The interesting thing is this twisted logic. Anton sees this cosmic imbalance, and he thinks that human sacrifice, like specifically chosen according to how the stars are aligned, can somehow fix it. It shows, doesn't it, this total misunderstanding of the scale and nature of the cosmos. He's reduced it to a system that he thinks he can control with these awful rituals, and his motivation, it probably comes from this deep desire for control, right? This need to impose order on the universe, but also this deep belief that he has this unique insight into how it works, even though that insight is, well, it's wrong.
The text also mentions that these sacrifices were meticulously chosen. It says they were based on birth dates and how those lined up with specific celestial charts. That level of detail is, it's striking. What does all that meticulous selection tell us about how dedicated Anton was to his beliefs? And maybe how deep his delusion went?
It's all about obsession, really. And this guy, he's completely lost in his own made-up reality. He's applied this complex system, but it's flawed, right? It's flawed to justify horrible acts. And the time and effort he must have spent on all these calculations, it just shows the extent to which his astrological beliefs have messed up, warped his sense of right and wrong and the value of human life. It's a chilling example of how deeply ingrained beliefs can lead to extreme, totally irrational behavior.
Then you have this meteorite, and it's described as a response to Anton's ritual, but not at all what he was expecting. What's so striking, so ironic about this intervention from the cosmos?
The irony is just huge, isn't it? And tragic, too. Anton thinks the meteorite proves his ritual worked. Like it's this final realignment manifesting in the heavens, as he puts it. But really, it's the thing that's going to kill him. This totally random, totally unforeseen cosmic event that just wrecks his whole idea of a predictable, controllable universe. Yeah. The cosmos does respond to his command, but it responds with this indifferent, deadly force that just highlights how pointless all his efforts were.
The text actually says that Anton missed the true message the cosmos held, and that his destiny was in cold, unforgiving rock and not stardust. What's the deeper meaning there, do you think? It's almost poetic in a grim kind of way.
If we zoom out a bit, right, look at the bigger picture. You've got this contrast between stardust, which is all romantic and mystical, the celestial stuff Anton wanted to control, and then you've got this harsh reality of cold, unforgiving rock. And it highlights how the universe just doesn't care, about human desires and how we interpret things. Anton was looking for meaning and control in all this grand cosmic dance, but his end came from this totally random, impersonal source. It's a big reminder, isn't it, of how insignificant we are compared to this vast, uncaring cosmos. A cosmos that just works according to its own laws, completely oblivious to our little ambitions and beliefs.
It's interesting because Anton's final realization is that he was right. He predicted this celestial event correctly, but he was on the wrong side of it. How does that drive home this theme of how insignificant we are compared to the universe?
It's tragic, really, and so ironic. Anton spends his whole life trying to understand and control these celestial events, and that's what gets him killed in the end. He was so focused on controlling the grand cosmic narrative that he just missed his own tiny role in it. The universe, it operates on a scale we just can't grasp, and Anton's final moments when he understands that, well, they just underline how pointless it is to try and force our will on such a massive, indifferent force.
That description of his blood mixing with the blood of the sacrifice, painting his final chart, it's such a powerful, gruesome image. What feelings or ideas does that bring up for you?
It's potent, isn't it? And disturbing. It's like this grim finality emphasizing how pointless Anton's efforts were. His own lifeblood, the very thing he thought could change fate, it just becomes a stain on the ground, mixing with the remains of his sacrifice. It's this brutal, ironic depiction of his failure. The opposite of those intricate, meaningful charts he was obsessed with. It really makes you think about the limits of human understanding and how, in the end, the unpredictable wins.
Both of these murder investigations, although very different on the surface, they're about individuals who thought they had the special understanding of unseen forces, whether through music or astrology, and they both tried to use that power. What are the big similarities or differences you see in what motivated them and ultimately what brought about their downfall?
What's similar is this arrogance. Both the minstrel and Anton, they thought they understood, they thought they could control forces beyond what normal people get. But their motives seem different. The minstrel, he seems to use his power to destroy, leaving this trail of blood and madness. Anton, on the other hand, he seems to think he's restoring balance, even though he does it through horrible means. Their downfalls are also different. The minstrel is overwhelmed by the people he tormented, a more human kind of reckoning, right? But Anton, he's crushed by this cosmic indifference he just didn't understand. But in both cases, it was their messed up understanding of the forces they wanted to control that led to their demise.
These two stories you brought us from True Assassins, they really make you think about the darker sides of obsession and just how unpredictable fate can be. In one, something as simple as music becomes this weapon that causes mass hysteria. And in the other, this guy's trying to control the cosmos, and he just gets this brutal reminder of how uncaring the universe is. What kind of questions do these stories leave you with, about the power of suggestion, the dangers of fanaticism, or just the limits of what we can actually understand?
Definitely. These stories stay with you because they get at something fundamental about being human. Our need for meaning, our need to be in control, how easily we're influenced, and how even the most out there beliefs can have terrifying consequences in the real world. They make you think about the unseen forces that might be shaping what we do, and how close unwavering belief is to dangerous obsession.
Absolutely fascinating and definitely disturbing. Thanks for taking us through these truly wild murder investigations. We hope this look at these mysteries from True Assassins has given you some intriguing, maybe unsettling insights. And if you're craving more addictive cloak and dagger stories, well, be sure to rate and follow the True Assassins podcast.